What's the smartest thing you've ever seen someone do during a D&D campaign? Part 2. Not a campaign I was in, but from a friend of mine. The party has fought its way through a grueling temple full of bad guys and the underground caverns full of bad guys beneath the temple. Battered and exhausted, they finally reach the lowest level of the caverns. The DM sets the scene, a vast cave, the center of which is dominated by a single stalagmite that rises sheer and steep into the darkness. Barely visible at the top of this stony spike is a throne, and upon it, an armored figure. The party has at last found the throne room of the Death Knight, who is master of this foul place. With an ominous creaking of armor and bones, the Death Knight rises. Carved into the steep sides of the stalagmite are narrow stairs leading to the cavern throne. The Death Knight begins to descend the sheer face of the stalagmite, hundreds of feet high, the heavy tread of his boots echoing through the cave as he descends. Thump, thump, thump. The party begins to exchange glances around the table, nervously checking and rechecking their character sheets. They are almost out of resources. Maybe continuing this deep without recuperating was a bad idea. Thump, thump, thump. The DM begins to monologue as the Death Knight, when my friend interrupts him. Friend, wait, how high did you say this thing was? DM, you aren't sure exactly, but well over 100 feet, probably 2. It's really tall. If not for the acoustics in the cave, you might not be able to hear the Death Knight at all. Friend, but we can see him. DM, yeah, he cuts an ominous figure as he descends the steep stairs cut into the face of the stalagmite. It's so steep, he almost seems to be walking straight down, and all the while you can feel his burning eyes boring into you as he grows larger and more distinct with every step. He continues. Friend, I cast grease on the steps. DM, you what? Friend, how steep did you say that was again? DM, rolls some dice. DM, rolls some more dice. DM, rolls a whole bunch of dice, consults some notes, and sighs. DM, okay. The Death Knight slips mid-monologue on the steps, then proceeds to plummet several hundred feet to the base of the stalagmite, scrabbling in vain for a hold all the while. He smashes into the cave floor with a tremendous din, bones and pieces of armor flying in all directions. His head rolls to a stop at your feet. I'm pretty sure this actually violated the letter of the rules, as grease had a range of 30 feet back in AD&D 2E, but the DM let it happen, so happen it did. And everyone agreed it was a kick-ass use of paying attention to the scene anyway, so nobody was really upset. To be fair, it's my first time running a campaign and all of our first time playing, so if everything isn't according to the rules, let's call it homebrew, lol. I put together a side dungeon for Halloween to help my players, my fiancée, sister, and her boyfriend accomplish a small step towards the end game. It was some of my best work, a necromantic cult slayer containing a relic they needed, laid out in perfect detail with loot and NPCs and traps and puzzles, all handmade. They decided on pretending to want to join the cult to obtain it and went through a few tests. They had to fight off zombies, resurrect a few corpses, which they later recruited wouldn't have been a problem if it wasn't an orc, a little boy, and a dog that I now had to voice. Woof, and finally hold council with the leader of the cult, a woman with half of a face named Sarah. My sister's boyfriend is playing a human wizard named Maya. Maya's school is illusion, and his favorite spell by far is Unseen Servant. He tends to burn his spell slots on it pretty often. He's very clever with it, however. I didn't realize how clever until Sarah got to monologuing. The cult, ad mortem, had a goal of immortality without lichdom, though it was producing some awful side effects. They were kept alive no matter how mangled their bodies were. They were practicing removing souls and using the hollow vessels for new housing. Using the relic, they had a weapon that could rip the soul from a target. This relic happened to be sitting beside Sarah on a pedestal. The relic was incredibly powerful and the thrall could drive a user insane. Sarah explained the heroes would have to use the relic to rip the soul out of their revived corpses, the ones they had just befriended, without succumbing, with the promise they would be shelled for use later if they failed. She went on a rant about their goals and such. I got carried away in setting the atmosphere when Maya leans over to Lana, my sister, an elf druid, and whispers something. My sister beams. Oh, no. Out of character, Shane turns to me and asks with a shit-eating grin, how long does Unseen Servant last? Dread creeps up my spine as I reply, an hour. He then informs me that Maya discreetly orders his servants to take the relic while Sarah is monologuing. I roll for perception quickly, embarrassed I hadn't thought of that, and see the number that brings every player to tears. A big, fat, fucking one staring up at me. Maya's servant retrieves the relic and hands it to Molly, the half-elf NPC they are traveling with, who is the daughter of the wizards who made the relic, and the only one who can withstand the thrall, who proceeds to rip Sarah's soul from her body a split second after she realizes what's happened. Cue Maya's snappy, "Hey, Sarah? You're boring me to death." QGO, my fiance's sharp mind fighter dabbing enthusiastically. Alana taught him to dab. Cue me, swigging some more Jack and Coke as I recall how long it took me to make Sarah's character sheet for this epic battle we were supposed to have. They proceeded to burn down the lair and draw a dick on the front door in blood. I'm looking at the useless character sheet now as I realize that's what I get for monologuing. Maybe not the smartest choice, but a really good way to break the game in a legit way, preventing every bullshit that a GM could throw. I have a pretty solid item for me, and it drives GM crazy. Meet Orb of Divination. According to rules of custom magic item creation, you can create your own magical items with, for example, Ring of Fireball that can cast infinite fireball in a day, granting it will casting ability, etc. I used the spell Divination. I was a divine caster. Divination spell lets you ask a question to God. So basically, "Oh great almighty, can you answer my prayers? Is there a trap nearby? Is there an enemy nearby? Is there more than 5 enemies nearby? Is there a magic user enemy nearby?" On and on and on. You can ask infinite questions. The trick is, Divination cannot give you specific answers. Can only answer yes, no, or maybe. If possibility is higher than 70% or 80%, answer is yes. If outcome is heavily dependent on your actions, maybe. If possibility is lower than 40 or so, will result in no. And you cannot ask the same question. But nothing stops you from using different pronouns with asking multiple really similar questions. GM banned me from divine classes, then I made a high charisma summoner and spend everything to use magic device. And then, grabbed that orb again and integrated a quicken spell meter magic rod on it. A summoner synthesis uses a lance with an orb of divination. In combat, I can take +4 to 6 bonus against one enemy because of gaining info about them. Or, using environment, gaining otherwise impossible knowledge. In previous games and in all sessions, our GM drove me crazy because of he didn't like what I did with my idol, or he didn't accepted some mysteries because he thought they were ridiculous. I took my revenge on him. Dude, this is my character. As long as I do not break the rules and don't bother others' game and fun, I can do whatever the hell I want. Just because a monster cannot hold weapon and it is just it is, I lost my proficiencies. This game with my orb was a nightmare for him. He liked troll traps like exploding chest, and so, after finding every single coin in the dungeon, no other player argued with me. Recently, I found something that is arguably one of the best system abuse out there that is actually completely legal. I really need to share this. If there is a GM out there that keeps wanting you dead, you can use this build. Feat 3, Sacred Vow, Vow of Poverty, Vow of Non-Violence, Vow of Peace. For those who are not familiar with vow system, these feats are basically making a hard to preserve oath and gaining some huge benefits. For example, Vow of Poverty is an oath that you swore you won't hold or even touch something more valuable than 50 gold in your life. So, I found this guy. Rakshasa, Raktavana. You can take him as a familiar with improved familiar feat. This guy has ability to transform into a one-handed weapon. That is what the description says. There is nothing that says it cannot be a magical, or it must be appropriate for master. You can make a +5 gargantuan assassin crossbow and start to bomb castles with +5 gargantuan arrow of Vorpal. Not kidding. And also, since this guy is a familiar, according to rules of Vow of Poverty, your class feature don't directly break Vow of Poverty. Since familiar counts as a class feature and you can't sell this guy, you can basically obtain a few of them and arm yourself with any one-handed weapon you want without breaking vow. I hear sounds of frustrated GMs. I sense evil spirits of GMs. After that, Spiritualist quintessential archetype. Quintessentially has something called exemplar. Basically, a servant or a twin or an avatar that looks like someone of your kin. And you can give your feats to exemplar. When you give your feats to exemplar, you will temporarily lose all effects of your feat. Take 3 levels in Oracle Cyclopean Seer, get Flash of Insights, and drink Strange Fluids. Jam Fast Healing +4, Immortality, Wings, Mutation, I don't know. Pick something in the list of strange fluids you like. After that, drop all valuable items in your hand, and take back all your feats from exemplar while dismissing him or her. You can basically gain +2 to all stats with strange fluids, bypass the restrictions of your Vow of Poverty, put Vow of Peace to your exemplar to protect it, and use it to support you. Take some combat feats, and you are good to go. Tricking the gods. Abusing the shit out of rules. Flash of Insight is a ridiculously OP revelation. You can basically choose the outcome of your dice roll once per use. If you can gain additional use for this revelation, you can combine them as well. An immediate crit. Perfect outcome for a D100 random effect orb, changing wild magic to freaking primal magic. Just using Quintessentialist plus Flash of Insight makes you immune to many drawbacks of many powerful feats. By the way, Vow of Poverty grants additional exalted feats. Take a look at those. And grab what you want. Use your familiar and exemplar, it has its own feat progression as well, to gain access to whatever feat you want. You say you can't use racial feats? I have this. Oozemorph. Oozemorph can take form of a humanoid, and also gain its racial abilities, counts as both core race and transformed race. This transformation counts as a wild shape, so pick Beast of Society trait to double your duration. After that, gain Ratfolk Well Prepared feat, or maybe Goblin Roll with it feat, and take Bouncing Body to jump through walls, obstacles and bounce back to your enemy. Take Death from Above feat to gain +5 attack roll bonus for attacks made from above. Talking about smart things. These should be here. I may use them against a harsh GM in future. This was when I was DMing. So, I was running a campaign where my players were doing anything they wanted, and one of my players was a kobold sorcerer monk, and he weighed 25 pounds. So, during the campaign, he came across an artifact called the Tooth of Shiamat, which was a wand that could be used as a +3 dagger and so on. That's not important. What is important is that since he got the artifact and I rolled for random minor detrimental properties on the artifact chart, I got a 43, and that reduces your weight by 1d4 times 5 pounds. Remember, he weighed 25 pounds and I rolled a 4, which meant he now weighed 5 pounds. He weighed less than the manacles he had in his backpack, and he weighed the same as his backpack. Now, remember, he was a sorcerer. He had the Mage Hand cantrip, as everyone should, and the weight maximum of the spell is 10 pounds, and he weighed 5 pounds. So he continuously cast Mage Hand on himself, allowing him to fly. This alone surprised me, but that's not it. Later in the campaign they were fighting Death God, and the kobold had cast Fireball on the god the previous turn, and so the Death God decided he wanted to teach him a lesson by disfiguring him, and so I rolled on a chart I made, and I got the affect of the creature shrinks, becoming thin and bony and halving its weight. So, the kobold who originally weighed 25 pounds, already the lightest one in the party, then became 5 pounds from the artifact, and so finally he became 2.5 pounds. But, this is the amazing part, he broke off his atonement with the artifact after they banished the Death God, and I asked him why, and he said he felt like this was too broken, but I knew he wasn't the character who would do this. He shares my love of breaking the game. So he was back at 12.5 pounds. Next session, he asks if he can still attune to the artifact to gain the same detrimental property as before, and I say yes, and so he attunes again. Now, when he asked that question I could feel my eyes open wide. I saw what he was doing. He broke it. He broke all the rules, at least laws of physics. Well, so the curse of the Death God was permanent, and so when he broke off the atonement to the Tooth of Shiamat, he returned to half of 25 pounds, which is 12.5 pounds. So when he attuned again, and lost 20 pounds in weight, he now weighed -7.5 pounds. He weighed -pounds. So, he floats now. If he wants to walk like normal, he'll just put on his backpack with mage hand and fall to the ground. He walks on ceilings, and if he wants to, he can hold a combination of gear equal to 7.5 pounds, so he then overall weighs 0 pounds and just floats, not attracted to or repelled by gravity at all. He is negative mass now and can go wherever he wants because he can fly. He's planning on building an upside down castle on an earth moat so no one can raid it. Also, there is no way he can take fall damage or float out of the atmosphere because he has mage hand and can fly anywhere. This is definitely the most broken combo in D&D and the smartest thing I've ever seen anyone do.